We begin this hour with the bizarre first cabinet meeting of Donald Trump's second administration. Now, unlike his first term in office, this one didn't start with the president going around the room making each cabinet secretary lavish praise on him. Instead, the hour-long public portion of the meeting was dominated by the man who is essentially co-president, Elon Musk, who defended Doge's chaotic efforts to slash the federal government and even admitted to making some pretty trivial mistakes.
We will make mistakes. We won't be perfect. But when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola, Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately.
Just Ebola prevention. No biggie. But folks, despite that, Trump claimed that everyone in the cabinet is thrilled with Musk. He also fielded questions on a myriad of other topics, from the soaring price of eggs to echoing some Putin talking points when asked about the Russia-Ukraine war. Joining me now is Peter Baker, New York Times chief White House correspondent, and Brendan Buck, my buddy, former top aide to House Speakers Boehner and Ryan. Both are MSNBC political analysts. So, Peter. Elon Musk once again in the Oval Office, in the White House, in the cabinet room, wearing, the appropriate dress code, cap and T-shirt. It's always standard fare for such a meeting. Describing himself as a tech support, I guess, for those members of the government. The attire aside, this is very serious stuff that's happening inside and outside of our government. What do you make of his increasing role? I mean, it's almost every day there's another layer that's being added onto it. And the trolling away, that takes place as well, just kind of downplaying the whole thing.
Yeah, well, look, obviously he has the imprimatur of the president. That's one reason he was at the cabinet meeting today, I think, to emphasize that this is not him off on his own, that he's doing the bidding of Donald Trump as Trump wants him to do it. And that was a message I think that they were intended to send. Still, I thought it was really interesting that just the body language you saw, and you see in these pictures here, him standing the whole time, at least at the beginning of this cabinet meeting in front of the cameras. He is the sole focus, and he's explaining his plans and what he's up to, and he's taking questions from the press. And at a certain point, Trump says, "Okay, wait a second," and he sort of takes back over the event. And you could sort of see there the obvious, if kind of unspoken friction here between the world's richest man and the world's most powerful man, and how they're splitting up this administration in a way. And Trump then proceeded to take over for the rest of the availability with the press. But Musk was the dominant force there, certainly at the beginning, and all the cabinet secretaries were there in order to do as he tells them to do in terms of their own workforce.
So, Brendan, some people would say the world's wealthiest man and the most powerful man are one and the same person. That can be an appropriate joke, I guess. But the reality of it is, to Peter's point, you do have this very stark image. You've got these cabinet secretaries who, in their own right, are very powerful individuals, captured by Elon Musk in this moment. How do Republicans, and not to make it exclusively a Republican issue, but they control the House, the Senate, and the White House, how do they navigate the optics here with this increasing role of one person who is pretty much kind of, casting his shadow over the entire government in a way that, as we've seen, making some of these cabinet secretaries have to push back and go, don't pay attention to that email from Elon Musk?
Yeah, I think there's going to be an increasing amount of tension, and you wonder sort of where does the pushback come from? I certainly don't think it's going to come from congressional Republicans. It's hard to separate Elon Musk and his political power with Elon Musk and his couple $100 billion that any House or Senate member knows could destroy them in a primary, which has already been threatened. So they're not really going to speak up to him. But I do think that there is going to be potentially untenable tension between cabinet members who want to actually administer their own programs, run their own agencies, and somebody meddling in their business constantly. They are at some point are going to develop their own plans for how they want to run things. And if Elon Musk is coming in with no notice and firing a bunch of people that they're counting on to do the work, that's not going to work out very well. But it's funny in these meetings, Elon Musk stands up and kind of does this aw shucks routine. I'm just tech support, just here to help the American people. And it's probably very clear to a lot of these folks in the room that he has no idea what he's talking about as it relates to the policy that all of them are working on. These are, complicated issues ultimately that cabinet members deal with, and he's just making it up as he goes along.
Yeah, Peter, that's a big part of this that we see playing out as a lot of the congressional leadership scramble to try to hold the line, if you will, with respect to what Musk is doing. As the president, I think, also is kind of coming to understand a little bit better that, well, maybe that I've given him a little bit too much rope. You still, though, have this sense from Trump that he's engaged in other things. So you have, for example, Trump, facing a lot of criticism after posting an AI video featuring a Trump Gaza hotel. In the foreign policy space, where you have, whether it's in Ukraine or certainly in Gaza, human suffering, that part of Trump's personality still seems to be missing. There still seems to be a lack of empathy about the condition of people, whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's in Gaza, or quite honestly, what we see happening to the federal workforce here at home. How does the administration navigate that when you've got these types of actions by the president that sort of create different narratives that they don't necessarily want to have to address?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're right. Empathy has never been his strong suit. That's not the way he rolls. He's not a Bill Clinton, I feel your pain kind of guy. He didn't during COVID. He hasn't really during a lot of these wars. Now, he has talked a lot in the last few days about the devastation in both Gaza and Ukraine. And he does sit there and talk pretty powerfully that he wants to stop the fighting in Ukraine. He wants to stop the dying in Ukraine. He says that's his number one goal. So he is expressing that sort of human, concern. But, the video that you just referenced that he put out last night, the AI-generated video of him in Gaza with a gaudy Trump statue and casino-like Trump branded hotels, certainly does not seem not presidential, obviously, not diplomatic, and not attuned to the suffering that he himself has expressed, has been endured by the Palestinian people.